returning Ryan Gravenberch hits Newcastle where it hurts.
Well, there you go. Is that the mark of champions that haven't been in this game at all? Liverpool wondered whether he was going to have an earlier shot there. It's a brilliant finish. Catches Nick Pope by surprise. Little shift, double shift there, and beats Pope at his near post. That little shift there, does it go through the legs of Bruno Guimaraes? It does. It's a brilliant finish it is from Gravenberch. It really is. Pope going the wrong way. Does him with the eyes there. And Arne Slot's team, they've not deserved it, but found a way to take the lead.
Well, he would have been an outsider as first goal scorer, Ryan Gravenberch. A delayed start to this season, but missing through suspension and the birth of a child.
What a way to announce your comeback. It's a brilliant finish. As Nick Pope all ends up, wraps his foot round the ball, shapes it, going to the far corner, and Pope starts to go to his left and beats him in off the near post.
Well, the Newcastle and England goalkeeper knew he wasn't getting anywhere near that, and after a frantic start, Liverpool have done what they came here to do. Said to Newcastle, show us what you've got, contained it, and now struck themselves.
I think you'd call that a sucker punch, wouldn't you?
100%. Deflating for that is a Newcastle team who's still to score their first goal of this Premier League season. April 2024, Ryan Gravenberch's last goal for Liverpool in a 3-1 win at Fulham. Here's Wirtz, tussle with Guimaraes, from which the Newcastle man emerges victor.
Just force that one, Guimaraes. Good strength to fight off Wirtz. Tried the more difficult pass.
There's a wayward one from Wirtz, which has given Newcastle it back. Tonali doesn't really take advantage by playing it softly against Van Dijk. Here's Elanga. Elanga's teasing cross, and Szoboszlai has to deal with it.
As well as Szoboszlai does. That's one hell of a ball from Elanga. I think Harvey Barnes certainly was on his heels. I mean, that is begging for someone to go in and attack that. Anthony Gordon got to try and get across there. His defender.
Getting up close and personal with Salah and Byrne. It is commonplace to see the referee these days issuing plenty of warnings before corner kicks are taken. Bit of a mismatch in height terms, that. And he still gets there anyway, does Dan Byrne, but can't do anything with it.
Well, here was the Gravenberch strike. Has a little look over his shoulder. Thought, should he hit it then? No. Little shift through Bruno Guimaraes' legs, and then wraps his foot round it brilliantly, and does Nick Pope. All ends up.
Actually see, when you look at those cameras, how often the referee's in the right place at the right time to see everything.
Good vantage point, that wasn't it?
Wouldn't be such a good vantage point though if you got 50,000 on your back. Here's Gordon. He's concerned about some diving that he feels has been going on a slot.
Newcastle, the goal has knocked the stuffing out of them a little bit. They need to compose themselves again.
Ekitike trying to ease Byrne out of the way, but here's Mo Salah. This is Wirtz. Szoboszlai. Now Kanate. Livramento coming up to put the pressure on Dominic Szoboszlai to force him back to his goalkeeper. And it is up to Newcastle to try and wrestle the initiative back. Trippier beaten by the high ball. Gakpo. Trippier stuck to his guns with him. Salah with a cross, and the touch from Curtis Jones actually made that more difficult for Ekitike.
Oh, what a chance that was. Really poor from Kieran Trippier, misjudges the flight of the ball. That early pass from Salah there, and Jones just has to make contact. So 10 yards out, any contact would have been really difficult for Pope to get down and save it. Look at Mo Salah's reaction, he knows.
Curtis Jones, who has scored twice in the last 3 league matches against Newcastle. This run of games where Liverpool have been so dominant for so long that Newcastle came into this one with everything surrounding the game, hopeful of changing that narrative. Barnes. Livramento. Joe Linton with a touch. Here's Sandro Tonali. Barnes. Even he's not appealing for the corner.
Szoboszlai's done pretty well, hasn't he, in those 1v1 situations?
These two teams will join the Carabao Cup at a later stage, but for those who are in it, plenty of coverage on Sky Sports. Leeds going to Sheffield Wednesday in a Yorkshire derby tomorrow from 7 o'clock on Sky Sports Football, and on Sky Sports Plus a choice of 18 other games. Not quite as busy on Wednesday, but we have Grimsby against Manchester United as our main event on Sky Sports Football from 7, and a choice of 3 other matches. These two enter late, of course, because they are both going to be involved in European football this season. Wirtz, away by Cher. Now Guimaraes has space in which to operate. Elanga's made the run in, but he's looked in the other direction. Barnes. Livramento has it taken away from him by Curtis Jones. Salah, was he caught by Byrne? Quickly got back on his feet anyway. But the referee has now brought it back for the initial challenge, and Byrne has shown a yellow card.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of frustration from Dan Byrne there. That one was a really poor one from Byrne, and then he goes again when Salah gets back up.
Reckless rather than dangerous, which is why it is yellow for Dan Byrne.
The second one wasn't too clever as well.
Van Dijk and Gordon races across and catches him later. We're going to see a second Newcastle yellow card now in quick succession. Kerkez wants to take some action of his own, is pushed out of the way by Guimaraes. Konate comes in and tries to act as peacemaker, which is the only role he can have, as he's himself on a yellow card. And the referee trying to avoid a crowd scene here. It is going to be checked by VAR to see if it would be more than just a booking.
Well, Anthony Gordon's trying to get across and stop that ball. He's nowhere near the ball and just collides into Van Dijk. I think yellow's right. Reckless there. Actually looks like he tries to pull out a little bit at the end. He's sort of committed and then...
Well, actually the VAR is recommending a review, so this yellow card may not stay at yellow. Initially we thought that going in low might save him, but when you see the way he's raked the back of the Achilles, as Simon Hooper going to take further action on the advice of John Brooks, who's in VAR. They're going to show it in real time to the referee first.
Does he catch his Achilles? If he does, I do think he's in trouble. I think from the front on that angle, you couldn't see it, but he does. He catches him on the calf. I think he'll go here. He missed that first time round, but you can see he catches him high on the back of his right calf, and that's just a wild challenge. You see that again. Every time you see it, it gets worse and worse. I'd be surprised if he stays on.
The decision has been made. And he's going to tell everybody what it is.
After review, Newcastle United number 10 commits a serious foul play challenge. The challenge is speed and commits clear contact on the Liverpool number 4's calf. My final decision is red card for Newcastle United number 10.
Well, there you heard it in Simon Hooper's own words. It's the third red card of Anthony Gordon's Newcastle United career. He takes the walk of shame, and for Eddie Howe's Newcastle side, who were already up against it, this is a serious, serious blow.
Yeah, and the more you look at it, he's getting applauded off Anthony Gordon, but he's let his team down there. It's an unnecessary challenge. Really is. Eddie Howe shaking the head, but it was the other way round. You can understand. There was no need for him to commit and catch, and I think that was intentional. And Virgil van Dijk, when you look where he was caught, Newcastle just haven't kept their heads.
Well, agonising, and Anthony Gordon, who missed the Carabao Cup final against Liverpool through a suspension, he'd been sent off in an FA Cup tie against Brighton, will be absent as well for Newcastle. The final game before the international break is at Leeds, so problems lying in store as well as tonight. Van Dijk, Dern, Szoboszlai, Here's Kanate. This is Jones.
And the space in those Liverpool wide areas now. Looks like Barnes and Langer have narrowed up these two central forwards.
Now 4-3-2 is how they're probably going to try and play it with Langer and Barnes, but it's not going to be easy, is it, to pick off?
No. There'll be counter-attack from Newcastle from now on.
Here's Salah. Back off Joe Linton and swept clear by Dan Burn. Well, all the noise around this game has ultimately affected Eddie Howe's Newcastle team more than it's helped them. Having started the game well, they found themselves a goal down to Ryan Gravenberg, a neat finish through the legs of Bruno Guimaraes. But towards the end of the half, Newcastle started to lose their discipline. After one challenge by Dan Burn on Mo Salah that brought a yellow, Simon Hooper felt on a VAR review that he had no option but to show a red to Anthony Gordon for a late challenge, and it's Newcastle 0, Liverpool 1 at half-time.
Liverpool lead, Newcastle are down to 10. Liverpool committed 9 fouls in the first 25 minutes, the most in their Premier League history. But after that, a moment of calm, and Ryan Gravenberch took advantage, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Newcastle absolutely battered Liverpool for that first half an hour or so. But just before this, Liverpool had kept a little bit of possession in terms of going nowhere, just trying to take the sting out of the Newcastle crowd. A poor throw-in from Kieran Trippier into Ryan Gravenberch, gets the wrong side of Joe Linton. And Curtis Jones has been one of the better Liverpool players, actually done well in this cauldron at St James's. But remember before the game, Arne Slot mentioned about Newcastle going into a low block at different times. Maybe this is something they'd spoken about before the game. Can they get the shots away? Because it's not normal to see Ryan Gravenberch take shots from the edge of the box. But he goes to shoot there, he thinks twice. A little bit of fortune, a little nick on the way there from Sharp. But I cannot believe that right now at half-time, Liverpool are 1-0 up. Newcastle down to 10 men after what I'd seen in that sort of first 34 minutes when, as I said, Newcastle were fantastic, and that is football. I mean, I think it still goes in without the slight touch anyway, but yeah.
Newcastle have done everything at high speed, including trying to win the ball back. Is this come down to over-exuberance on Anthony Gordon's part?
Yes. In our time, Jamie, we would have maybe, it would have been a foul. Maybe a yellow, not a red, but this is not our time. It is a red card. And at the time that it happened, I said red straight away. Why do you put yourself in this type of situation? I know you get carried away, you put pressure on one of the players, you go and put pressure on the goalkeeper.
What's the mistake he makes Thierry here then? Because he wants to go and close it now, he wants to win the ball.
It's too far to reach him. You know it's too far to reach him. He knows that. He gets carried away with what's been happening, and I can understand it. But you can't argue that is a red.
This is daft from Anthony Gordon because he was the best player on the pitch.
By a distance.
Before that, he was absolutely
so
fantastic.
good.
That's what happened to Virgil van Dijk's car. Simon Hoover overturning his on-field decision, saying the challenge is with speed and makes clear contact on the Liverpool forward calf. Anthony Gordon had to check for himself. Will they be kicking themselves, Newcastle, then?
They will be, not because they're 1-0 down, because of that, the red card. There was always the chance that Newcastle could lose a player tonight. We've seen banners in the crowd into them.
Get into them, it said.
Yeah, there's been people, you know, even their ownership on social media, get into them. It's like sometimes you need to play with your brain, and obviously here as well. Now, they've done that brilliantly in that first half. They were fantastic, dominated Liverpool. Liverpool went at the races, didn't compete in the duels, which is what Arne Slot said he wanted Liverpool to do before the game. They didn't do that, but they've crossed the line, and ultimately it looks like it could cost them.
It looks a long way back, doesn't it, for Newcastle United from here. Such a blistering start to the game. It looked like they were carving out the chances, getting closer to an opening goal, but no, it was Ryan Gravenberch who struck. And then Anthony Gordon did the same, and his night was over. The question is there a way back for Newcastle? Speaking of bosses, here's the Ibiza final one.
Welcome back to the Coral Fan Derby. They're all here.
To Gakpo, we know he likes to come inside and try and get a shot off. And then a little poke to Ekitike, who just picks his spot there. Perfection, that precision. It's a wonderful finish inside of the foot. Nick Pope, absolutely no chance.
Well, there are plenty of people still taking their seats who didn't even see that goal, and in fact Arne Slot himself has returned to the good news that his team are 2-0 up. He didn't see it. Well, Guimaraes has just earned himself a yellow card for protesting about what he felt was a clear push on Harvey Barnes.
It's Canate again, wasn't it? Guimaraes just slips the pass. Little nudge there from Canate. Barnes goes down shoulder to shoulder. And Barnes would have been fortunate to get that one. Just eases him off the ball there, Canate. Bruno unhappy.
Well, referees do have dialogue with captains, but clearly the Newcastle skipper overstepped the mark. The relevance for Newcastle of that would have been that Canate himself is on a yellow from the first half, and that might have been their opportunity to even numbers up. Anthony Gordon sent off in first half stoppage time, adding to the problems that Newcastle United have at the moment. Their makeshift striker absent, their regular striker not turning out for them, and others who they're interested in being priced out of the market. In fact, you think the prices of Jørgen Strand Larsen and Johan Wisser have just gone up as a result of first half events here. front two who they hope might still be able to produce something to give Liverpool the kind of problems that Bournemouth did. Here's Grafenberg. Kirkes. Now Gakpo. Given away by Tonali. Van Dijk. Salah. Szoboszlai's crossfield pass was aimed at Cody Gakpo, but nowhere near him. There's Grafenberg.
Be careful, Bruno, isn't he? Give him a rest.
Yeah, his show of dissent has left him in an awkward position. Here's Ekitike. Wirtz. Back to Hugo Ekitike. And there's a little push off the ball there on Tonali by Ekitike. Well, the Newcastle chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan is here tonight alongside the co-owner Jamie Rubin, and there are reports tonight that he was part of a delegation that has spoken to Alexander Isak today in an attempt to find a solution to the impasse, and that solution has probably become even more urgent in the light of events here this evening.
Absolutely. Newcastle need to bring a couple of strikers into the club to allow Isak to go. Really difficult situation for Eddie Howe.
I must ask you, as a former striker yourself, Chris, what have you made of the way Isak has handled it?
But you can't down tools. I mean, you see the way Eze, for example, conducted himself at Crystal Palace. You've got to play for your club and your team. I think it's sad. I really do. It looks like eventually he will go if Newcastle get the players in. But winning a Carabao Cup here, and the Newcastle fans loving him, and his legacy in years to come. It's such a disappointment. Here was the big moment in the game. Anthony Gordon there. Daft challenge, wild challenge, overstepped the mark, and Virgil van Dijk pointing out the damage into the back of his leg.
Well, as soon as he saw those tram lines, he must have known he was in trouble.
It's just totally changed the game. I know Liverpool were in front at that stage, but Newcastle had been so dominant in that first half. But Liverpool with the man advantage now. Really difficult for Newcastle to get back in this.
And the problem's piling up for Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall if this issue is problematic with the shoulder of Sandro Tonali. Looks like an awkward landing that's caused the problem.
Bruno just pinches the ball, and then there's a coming together, Ekitike and Tonali.
Similar to the kind of impact injury that Martin Odegaard suffered at the weekend, and he landed on his shoulder and ended up having to come off. Well, it does remain to be seen if they can find a peaceful solution to reintegrate Alexander Isak. Certainly Eddie Howe was making conciliatory noises, but whether the fans would accept him again remains to be seen. There will be, after the Leeds game, a cooling off period, which might be needed with the international break. Liverpool at least being forced back to defend their own territory by Newcastle, even though they are a man light. Tonali is back on to at least make it 10. Still holding the shoulder, however. Gravenberg meets the throw-in. Back to Livramento, who delivers, and Guimaraes gets in there! And right out of the blue, Newcastle are back in it through their skipper.
He's pumped up, isn't he? Bruno Guimaraes, he attacks the ball brilliantly. Really does. At the far post, gets across Kirkes. The ball just floated in. And he has to generate the accuracy and enough power to get it past Alisson. It's a brilliant header. Newcastle, they just don't give up, do they, under Eddie Howe? Ball floated to the back post. Kirkes is trying to body Bruno Guimaraes, but he out-muscles him. And Newcastle, bit of hope now.
Well, an unpredictable twist to this match, and suddenly the noise levels rise again. The second Liverpool goal that some supporters didn't even see, and nor did the Liverpool manager, because it was only 20 seconds into the second half. Looked to have really dampened down any remaining enthusiasm amongst the home set. But now Arne Slot's team might be up against it, having, like they did against Bournemouth on the opening weekend, given their opponents a route back into the game.
Arne Slot must have thought 2-0, didn't see the goal. Not really that bothered, that'll be game over. Newcastle don't know when they're beaten.
Here's Van Dijk. Now Curtis Jones. Wirtz. The noise which Liverpool had quietened down has erupted again. Here's Cher. Looking for Harvey Barnes, who's got him behind Kanate, but the defender does get the header clear.
Silly challenge from Tonali there on Wirtz. It's going to be difficult for Newcastle to play through Liverpool midfield. Here's the goal, gets Newcastle a little bit of hope. Bruno Guimaraes muscling Kirkes, and Alisson can't quite keep it out.
Something to cling on to. Szoboszlai. Salah. Back from Ekitike. And here's Guimaraes, who's given Newcastle renewed hope. Barnes. Van Dijk plays it cleverly to earn Liverpool the throw-in. Just taking whatever time they can extract from this to earn themselves an advantage, Liverpool. Cher up against Ekitike there. Well, cramping down on time wasting, and there has to be a warning there for Milos Kerkez about the time and about the positioning. Tonali has taken another whack. But Newcastle playing on regardless. No, it's there was an arm into the face of Tonali, but I think it was accidental.
Yeah, it's flailing on from Florian Wirtz. Looks accidental there. Does catch Tonali. He's having a word with Simon Hooper.
No harm done in terms of him having to leave the field, and Newcastle really keen to get on with this and press home any advantage they might have gained from that Bruno Guimaraes goal. The throw-in is going to have to be retaken. Canate, Grafenberg misses his kick, and Joe Linton moves him out of the way. They are living in hope again. Held in by Livramento towards Byrne. Van Dijk meets it. Headed back into the hands of Alisson, but a corner has been given.
Liverpool do not deal with that long throw very well at all. Van Dijk had to be alert.
Well, they've got the belief back. Is this going to be the magical combination that undid Liverpool at Wembley? Trippier to Byrne, who's got one of his own players protecting him there. Swung in towards the goalkeeper, trying to catch Alisson off guard, and he wasn't particularly comfortable the first time with it, but he dealt with it well enough in the end. Back in by Byrne. Cleared by Canate. And here is Kieran Trippier, who almost caught Liverpool off guard with his kick. Joe Linton. Away by Akatiko.
Yeah, there's the corner where Alisson, trying to catch Alisson out, he recovers really well.
Newcastle cranking it up again. Maybe a player down, but no shortage of spirit here. The usual tussling going on as they try and mark out their territory here. And this isn't even from a corner, this is a throw-in. Ends in smiles. Held in by Livramento. Byrne makes that his. There's a player who's gone down in the area. And we saw with Calvin Bassey just how they are liable to penalise holding in the box. I think it's Cody Gakpo.
It's Fabian Schär and Gakpo. Schär hits the deck. Asking for a penalty, not enough contact there.
Yeah, minimal contact is the view. It wasn't as if, like Bassey yesterday, had his arms right round his midriff. Well, there is a change being made here by Newcastle. The youngster Lewis Miley coming on. The shoulder issue still aggravating Sandro Tonali. You can tell that by the way he's carrying his arm as he comes off. So Miley on.
Yeah, it's a shame though for Eddie Howe to lose Tonali. An enforcer for Newcastle, their number 6 role.
Livramento's throw, plenty of bumping and barging going on in there. Again, it's Fabian Schär who emerges with it and drifts it right across, and that was a real danger for Liverpool. The goal was gaping.
Tell you what a ball this was from Schär. 2 Newcastle players at the back post, just on the heels.
There was another penalty check here for Gravenberg on Joe Linton.
Gravenberg all over him, but Simon Hooper had a good view of that. And Fabian Schär, little shift there, turn and fires the ball across. 10 men of Newcastle pushing the 11 of Liverpool back.
Well, Bruno Guimaraes has been rallying the crowd. Liverpool having to do what they had to do after the first half hour and just contain their opponents, who have their tails up again. Byrne blocked by Wirtz. There's Gravenberg. Put out by Dan Byrne. Well, that's not bad, is it, considering the man advantage Liverpool have?
I know it's only for 5 minutes, but blimey, they've got some guts, haven't they? Eddie Howe teams.
You have to hand it to them. Unsettled Liverpool with that Guimaraes goal, no question about it. Liverpool trying to get back on an even keel. Could Salah be the man to do it for them? Jones. Here's Gakpo. And he had the shout from Livramento that he could leave it, and he did. Communication issues perhaps for Liverpool at the moment. They look to settle themselves again after another frantic period, just when they seem to have taken a greater grip on the game.
Absolutely, really uncomfortable. First half, got the noses in front, and the sending off for Newcastle. 20 seconds into the second half.
It's that kind of goal-scoring power and finesse that they could do with now, Newcastle United, but that, as we keep repeating, is what they are lacking as they look for either a peaceful solution with Alexander Isak or to get in a replacement, not just for him but for Callum Wilson, who was released in the summer. It is a shame, bearing in mind the place that Isak has in the history of Newcastle Football Club for helping to deliver the Carabao Cup with what turned out to be decisive goal against Liverpool at Wembley. His reputation here now tarnished by what's happened since. The fallen angel of the North now. Here's Salah. And Gakpo couldn't do anything with it.
He hasn't been at his best tonight, has he, Mo Salah? Had a particularly good game against Bournemouth, but then popped up with his obligatory goal on the opening day.
He has just won the PFA Player of the Year for the 3rd time. Probably due a bit of a down spell. Ramsey was beaten to that header by Bruno Guimaraes for the Newcastle goal. It's half the deficit and still gives Newcastle a fighting chance as we're in the final 20 minutes here. Here's Cher. Over Joe Linton, beyond Elanga. Barnes couldn't squeeze in between Konate and Van Dijk.
To be the plan for Newcastle when they have the ball at the back. Joe Linton a little bit higher and try and hit him. He has that physical presence which Barnes and Elanga don't.
And Liverpool scored 20 seconds into this second half through Ekitike, but they hadn't had a shot on Newcastle's goal since. There's Gravenberg. Jones. Konate. Here's Szoboszlai. Van Dijk. Possession, everything now for Liverpool as they just look to calm things down. Newcastle needing a spark to make things happen again. Barnes was going across to try and put pressure on Van Dijk. They've got it back now though. Guimaraes, good pressure from Kirk to win it back and to set up a potential Liverpool break. Doesn't work for Ekitike. Trippier dealt with it. Joe Linton just came to its second against Gravenberg, was caught by Ryan Gravenberg.
He looks in a fair bit of pain, doesn't he, Joe Linton? I think Tonali has gone off. Linton just stretching for the ball, not too much contact from Gravenberg. This is a worry for Eddie Howe, isn't it? They've already lost one of his midfield powerhouses. And Tonali can't afford to lose Joe Linton as well.
The Newcastle manager will be relieved he doesn't have the complication of a Carabao Cup tie midweek to deal with. They can try and get everybody fit for the trip to Leeds on Saturday. No fault on Gravenberg's part there. He has played his part in the game well with the first of the 3 goals.
Yep, wrapped his foot around that, 25 yards out, beats Nick Pope, brilliant strike from him, and then what a fast start to the second half from Liverpool, 20 seconds in, devastating finish from Ekitike, and then just when you think they're out of the game, Newcastle, Bruno comes up with that.
And Bruno the hero. Bruno has been at pains to emphasise the united part of Newcastle's name amidst the talk of dissatisfaction. And there's going to be a debut here for Newcastle for Jacob Ramsey as part of a triple change for Newcastle. All over for Joe Linton. Certainly won't want to be without him for any length of time. Joe Linton applauded off. And the incomers are ready, certainly a couple of them are. So Jacob Ramsey replaces Joe Linton, near £40 million recruit from Aston Villa. Lewis Hall and Willa Sula, the other two set to come on. In Hall's case, it is in place of Kieran Trippier, which should allow Tino Livramento to move to the right side and Hall take up his normal position on the left. And Harvey Barnes is the other player to come off. And Willa Sula, who is a natural striker, but is one that they're developing here rather than being ready full-time for the front line at the moment, comes on.
Yeah, he'll give them that bit of physical presence. Allow Eddie Howe's team to try and get up the pitch, losing Joe Linton, who was doing that from an advanced midfield position in that second half. He's gone now. And Asula make his mark.
Was kicked, Cher was coming in on it. Van Dijk was commanding in the air. And Liverpool on the charge with Curtis Jones. Asula trying to knock him out of his stride. Jacob Ramsey coming back to help out. There's a head injury at the other end, and the Newcastle fans are imploring the referee to hold up play because the issue with Fabian Cher was clearly more serious than initially realised. Well, the normal procedure is to call for medical attention straight away, no matter what the level of a head injury these days.
Yeah, I think Jason Tyndall frustrated by that, Kieran Trippier getting involved. Simon Hooper missing it. That is the protocol, isn't it? The correct protocol. Head injury, stop the game.
Well, this is another troubling blow for Newcastle if Cher is concussed. He's having to be manoeuvred very, very carefully into position, so it must have been a really hefty blow. So Tonali, Joe Linton, and now potentially Cher, all casualties of this game, as well as the sending off of Anthony Gordon.
Yeah. When it rains, it pours, doesn't it, for Eddie Howe? What an unfortunate start to the season. I hope some of his big hitters aren't out for very long. He's sharp. Good news is sitting up.
Here's what happened.
Eyes on the ball, Bruno and Van Dijk in the challenge as well, and a bit of blood there.
So not head on head, but head on arm. And Liverpool proposing to make some changes of their own. Conor Bradley's return to action, good news for them. And Federico Chiesa, who came off the bench to score against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup final to give Newcastle a bit of a late scare, also coming on here. Well, Fabian Cher is off being treated behind the Liverpool goal. And Newcastle are going to make these changes. Wirtz is off, so too is Ekitike. Bradley and Chiesa, the two coming on.
Ekitike making his mark once again. What a start he's had to his Liverpool career. Chiesa going in that central striking position. Conor Bradley, good to see him back.
Newcastle are preparing the ground for a change too. Malik Chow set to come on for his debut. It's Ramsey trying to slide one across to fellow substitute Asula. And here's the other one who's just come on, Lewis Hall. Burn. Livramento. To link up with Elanga, it's Guimaraes into the tackle with Chiesa, just left a little bit on him.
He's on the edge, isn't he, Bruno?
He is.
He may count himself lucky there.
Well, Cher can't continue, so it's sad way in some respects for the new man to make his debut, but it will give us an early look at the 24-year-old German international that Newcastle have brought in from AC Milan, Malik Chow. That was a concussion substitute, as you may have suspected. There's Milos Kerkez. Here's Van Dijk. Now Konate. Konate. Here's Bradley. Bradley's arrival has allowed Szoboszlai to take what for him is a more orthodox role further forward.
Yeah, he did pretty well though, didn't he? That right back role.
Yeah, not something that he's done too much of in the past, Dominic Szoboszlai, but he's presented himself to on a slot there as another option, with the problems they have with not just Bradley being injured, but Frimpong as well, and Joe Gomez still not fully fit for a whole match. Well, you mentioned how lucky Bruno Guimaraes was after his earlier booking for descent.
Yeah, here's that challenge on Chiesa. Just a little flick there on the follow-through. Just there. On the yellow. He's taking a risk.
Fine line. It's become a bit scrappy. 20 minutes now since either team have managed a shot. But that perhaps plays into Liverpool's hands a bit more.
Still very watchable, isn't it?
Absolutely. Chow's clearance only went to Chiesa, but Dan Burn got his new central defensive partner out of a spot of bother.
He's been immense, Dan Burn. He really has been.
He epitomises, doesn't he, the spirit of this Newcastle United team. Here's Elanga, and he turned from him. Ramsey with Hall up to his left. Still only one goal in it. Newcastle down to 10 men, but giving it everything. Sula was in there, but that's beyond him. Nothing for him to feed off.
Oh, they're so brave on the ball there. Bruno out from the back and playing the way up the pitch. Not the best of balls from Lewis Hall. Eddie Howe's just thinking, come on, let's get one more chance. Give us one more chance, half chance.
Liverpool have only managed 4 shots so far in Arne Slot's reign to this point. The fewest they've managed in a game is 6, which shows just how well Newcastle have done to dig in and keep them at bay.
And a man down for the second half.
Van Dijk, Livramento, here's Asuna. Wouldn't break for him. And trying to win it back, he concedes the foul on Curtis Jones.
Yeah, just got to be a bit cleaner there, Asula has it, with his link-up play.
Konate.
Must be a fair bit of added on time.
You would think so, wouldn't you? You're going to miss your last train home. Bradley. So back to Conor Bradley. He's trodden the disciplinary path a few times, Bruno Guimaraes, but no one can doubt his commitment.
I've got to say, he's been monumental this evening. Bruno has, in that Newcastle midfield. So strong, so robust there. Little nutmeg coming here from Conor Bradley, who takes revenge.
Guimaraes offended against, and Conor Bradley finds himself in the book. Look how high Liverpool have pushed up for this Newcastle free kick. Pope's delivery towards the inevitable target. Dan Burn, is he going to break? It is! Talk about a tale of the absolutely unexpected. Will Osula comes off the bench and gets an equaliser for 10-man Newcastle United against the champions.
Having got a centre forward, they have. What an impact from Osula. Dan Burn does brilliantly. It's basic football. All smash from Alan Shearer. One long ball. Liverpool don't deal with it. Dan Burn with the flick, and Osula just gambles. Let's have a look. Burn, think he's onside, and then Osula gambles on the flick and slips it under Alisson. Newcastle 2 down, all square. What guts, what determination.
Well, that is immense. And at a time where Newcastle were worried about the lack of a striker, Will Osula comes up with the goods in some style, and on a slot. Looks like he's seen a ghost. How has this one slipped away from his team?
They've been second best all evening. They've been second best when Newcastle have been down to 10 men. And Newcastle, they're thinking we can go on and win this.
And they might yet, because as we've said, there will be plenty of time. Kick hurled in there towards Burn. Alisson had to be strong with that one. Burn had his own battle to fight.
The thing is, you just sense with Newcastle equalising Liverpool, they're going to have to go up a gear or two.
And Salah looking to get in, but Hall is there. Well, they did it against Bournemouth. And can Liverpool do it again? Or can Newcastle press their ambitions even further? Elanga breaks clear. Couldn't get it across to Osula. Kirk is in the way. But these Newcastle fans can see the dream appearing before their eyes now.
Well, the roof nearly came off, didn't it, with that second goal? Imagine if they can get a winner.
Well, there will be 11 minutes of stoppage time. How are your nerves? Elanga has had plenty of time to contemplate this corner. Van Dijk is the first head to it. Minutes a good thing or a bad thing for him?
The way his team are playing, the guts they've shown. The crowd, home crowd, dragged them through this.
Van Dijk meets the throw-in from Livramento. Cleared by Kerkez, who lands awkwardly but is back on his feet, holding his back, and the pressure remains. Nervous, but in other parts of the terraces, noisy as well. Livramento gets it in again towards Byrne, who wins the flick on, and it's cleared. Here's Ramsey. Guimaraes to Hall. And Guimaraes gets in the corner now from the other side.
Guimaraes, Bruno, he's been unbelievable this evening. There's a driving force. Clever play wins the corner.
Well, where once there was despair, belief coursing through the veins of Newcastle now, and this is an exasperating time for the Liverpool manager. The Newcastle boss trying to keep his calm just when things seem to be tipping in his favour against all the odds. Elanga swings one in, cleared by Chiesa. Lewis Miley with the attempt that breaks free. Back into a dangerous area, Byrne will win it, and it's cleared by Mo Salah. But it will come straight back at Liverpool through Hall and Miley. Miley. Byrne is fortunately staying up there the whole time now. In some situations he'll be their emergency centre forward, but only at this stage of a game, you'd think. Well, they are shaking their heads in disbelief.
Well, would they take a point now?
Good question. Jones. Good control from Dan Byrne. Livramento, hopeful one forward, and Asula will get on the end of it. Livramento, Guimaraes. Livramento with a cross. It's going to be another corner. This one is off Kerkez.
It's incredible the way that 10-man Newcastle have pinned Liverpool back. A man down in this second half. The champions of England, Liverpool, and they just can't get control. What a performance from his team. He will be immensely proud, regardless of the result.
To Gakpo and Conor Bradley about how they handle Dan Byrne, who's always the one they're worried about in these situations, and with good reason. Elanga's kick cleared from in front of Asula this time. And Asula, in going for that, caught Milos Kerkez and winded him. Changes for Liverpool here, looking to the youth to bring them something extra. Gakpo and Jones off. Harvey Elliott comes on, and so too does Rio Ungamoa, the former Chelsea youth who makes his Premier League debut just 3 days short of his 17th birthday. Elliott. Grafenberg. Miley. Anywhere will do for Dan Burn. Well, who would have thought after a minute of the second half that Arne Slot would be having to rely on two young substitutes to get them a win here. Since the goal, the cupboard has been bare for Liverpool. Ungamoa trying to make an immediate impression. Here's Kanate. Bradley. And Mo Salah. As Chris alluded to earlier, it's had a really quiet night.
I think his record against Eddie Howe teams is quite remarkable, isn't it? Before this evening, but maybe he'll have a say late on. Wouldn't put it past him.
Did what he had to do in that situation, boxed in, plays it against Salah.
And a wry smile from Mo Salah. He didn't agree with the decision. Arne Slot, shake of the head, two up, let it slip.
Well, he thought he had scored the goal that was going to earn Liverpool another 3 points, but now they might have to be content with just one.
I think most people in the stadium thought that, in fairness, other than Eddie Howe.
Lofted up by Hall. Byrne. Rice and Miley trying to set the Sooner away. Bit of a pull and a tussle going on with Conor Bradley. Ungamoa. Van Dijk. Kanate. Miley. Had to get rid of it rapidly. There's Kirkes, whose touch had to be sure. Kirkes. Kanate. Grafenberg. Slipped through by Elliott. Salah plays it across the box line, leaves it. Ungamoa! It's the stuff of teenage dreams! 3 days short of his 17th birthday, on his Premier League debut, he comes off the bench and scores what's surely the winner for the champions.
Well, you can't believe it. What a moment for the young man. What a finish this is. Liverpool haven't deserved the 3 points. They're going to get them. They work it really well down that right-hand side, but it's all about the over here. Little over from Zoboszlai, and Ungamoa just strides onto the ball, and it's a confident, accomplished finish with his right foot. Composes himself, bang across Nick Pope into the far corner. Superb from Szoboszlai. The awareness just to leave it to his teammate, and the finish is devastating.
Well, what a superbly executed finish from a player belying his tender years to come up with the big moment at a big moment.
Just about not panicking. His team have got lucky tonight, Arne Slot, but they've found a way.
But devastation all around for those in black and white. They had pushed Liverpool so close with 10 men and with a catalogue of injuries, but their hearts ultimately broken by the youngster, we would think.
There's Dan Burn involved there. Is that with Chiesa? I think Chiesa's kind of trying to stop Dan Burn run forward, and Dan Burn just trying to shrug him off.
Well, if they're going to do it again, Newcastle, they've got one last chance and they're throwing their goalkeeper forward. Could Nick Pope do an Alisson against Alisson?
The way the game's been tonight, you wouldn't put it past him.
Lifted in towards where Pope is. Alisson was at the back of a very long queue, so his opposite number can stay in there for this moment. It's going to be chaos in there when this comes in from Lewis Hall. There's some real tussling going on. 3-3 with a late equaliser for Newcastle here last season. Cleared this time. Did Newcastle still have time to try again? Elanga. Touch wasn't so sure, and there goes their chance, you would think. Well, temperatures are spilling over. Bruno Guimaraes and Ryan Gravenberg, who both have yellow cards against their name anyway, were involved in that mini confrontation. Two wins out of two for the champions, but they were mighty lucky in this one, and they had to rely on a 16-year-old substitute sent on by Arne Slot to win a game for them that seemed to have slipped away. The spirit shown by Eddie Howe's Newcastle has to be praised to the highest. They were 2 down within 20 seconds of the start of the second half, and yet, despite being a man down, despite injuries, they fought a way back in through Bruno Guimaraes and through Will Asula, a substitute sent on by Howe at a time where they are, we're told, struggling for a striker. Ekitike scored again for Liverpool to add to the goal that had been scored earlier in the game for them to give them that 2-0 lead by Gravenberg. One or two tempers have frayed in a game that was always going to be high stakes because of all the talk around Alexander Isak leading into it, and Newcastle's problems added to now with the fact that their makeshift striker Anthony Gordon is due for suspension after his red card here, and they've picked up a series of injuries as well. Tonali, Joelinton and Fabian Schär, all casualties tonight. But the smiles at the end of the evening belong to Liverpool, and in particular to the teenager who won it for them. Newcastle 2, Liverpool 3.
That is the most extraordinary game of football I think any of us have seen for a long time. That young man, just 16 years old, not 17 until a couple of days, with the final twist in a second half which went one way and then dramatically the other. Thierry, how would you sum it up?
Look, at half time, I really thought that Liverpool was going to control the game in the second half, and straight away PTK scores, and you would like to think that it was going to be over. And that's when Newcastle started to play and boss the game, even with 10 men. They bossed the game already with 11, but they bossed the game even with 10 men, which was difficult to watch at one point. You're looking at the champions struggling against a team that's playing with 10 men, but it can happen, right? And then you're like, okay, 2-2, that's going to be a tough one for Liverpool, tough one to swallow. And then obviously we see him. He has Rio on the back of his shirt. We're going to call him Rio, but Soboslai, to have the awareness to let the ball go through your legs. And I know he didn't touch the ball, but that for me should go down as an assist.
I think what we've seen tonight is possibly one of the worst performances from a winning team and one of the best performances from a losing team. Liverpool won't care right now, of course, they'll be absolutely ecstatic. But Eddie Howe's men and his team tonight were absolutely outstanding.
It seemed like it was game over at 2-0, didn't it, Jamie?
It did, but that crowd, the intensity they played with, I mean, I actually fear what the score might have been if it was 11v11. You know, to put in that performance with 10 men...
What's your hunch?
I think Newcastle would have won the game. I think they were far better than Liverpool in every aspect of the game.
Agree with that, Thierry?
I do think so, but yet again, even being superior in the first half, Liverpool won 1-0 up. And you can put it on maybe today on that's how, at time, a team that's champion, that's how they win. Although in the second half, you would like to think that they didn't play really like champions. They didn't, have that hang on the game, even in the first half, to be fair. But, you will come back and you were talking about the comeback of Newcastle, and I have to talk about Grimalis. He was outstanding, really. What he did, the way he went forward, the way he grabbed, the game by the neck, and how he went forward. You lose Jolinton on the way. You lose Tonali on the way. The guy played almost alone.
You've seen the big guns are there tonight. The chairman, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who's not there too often. I think the last game he was at was the Carabao Cup final. There he is, consoling Eddie Howe, Jamie Rubin, and fellow owner on the touchline there as well. They've got some big things to sort out, Jamie, in the next week.
They have, but I think they knew what they had there in terms of the manager, the quality of the player, the connection between the pitch and the supporters. This is, listen, people talk about it being a special football club. Every supporter thinks theirs is a special football club. There's no doubt the passion and intensity up there and what Eddie Howe has brought to them. And that tonight, even though they'll be absolutely devastated tonight now with what happened in the last kick of the game, I think there'll be a feeling when they get in tomorrow morning at the training ground about we were outstanding there, we were proud, and I think the supporters will be exactly the same.
I think they're in a little bit of shock. They can't quite believe what they've seen. They thought they'd managed to grab a point, and it was snatched from them 90 plus 10 minutes, which means we have three sides who've started the season with maximum points. Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur, and the champions Liverpool. 4 points so far for Chelsea, who's had that 5-1 win on Friday night, and Nottingham Forest, who got a point at Palace yesterday. 3 points for City, Sunderland, and first wins for Everton, Bournemouth and Brentford this weekend to get them on to 3 points. And so too, Burnley. Leeds brought back down to earth at the Emirates. Have their first win on the board. 2 draws for Fulham and for Crystal Palace. 1 point from 2 games for Newcastle United. So too for Manchester United, for Aston Villa, who await their first goal, for Brighton, and nothing so far for Wolves and West Ham United. There's more live sport for you this evening because on Sky Sports Tennis, the US Open continues. most important line there. Anthony Gordon sent off at in stoppage time of the first half, but still Newcastle United had 10 shots, Liverpool's 5, the fewest in the Premier League under Arne Slot. They also had a higher expected goals count, more touches in the opposition box, almost 3 times as many crosses, Liverpool with more possession. And they ran out winners in the final seconds of this breathless football match. One young man at the start of his footballing journey, Virgil van Dijk, 34 years old, has seen it all. And he's giving his verdict now to Juliet Farrington.
Virgil, that was intense, probably what you expected. There was aggression, there was everything, there were injuries, there were sending offs, and there was a last-minute winner in added time from a 16-year-old.
Yeah, obviously we all know it's a difficult place to come. We all know that there was a lot of oil on the fire, I would say, this week in order to get especially Newcastle fired up. And what happened tonight, obviously, was expected. I think for us, the disappointed part is that we conceded 2 of set pieces, and that shouldn't happen. But overall, great 3 points, move on, and focus on the next one.
How much credit do you give Newcastle, because they looked as if they had 11 players on the pitch towards the end?
Yeah, you know, obviously free kicks, corner kicks, obviously then the pressure gets on, and they have the quality. I think if you look at all the traditional top 6 here last year, I think there's only a couple that actually managed to beat them. So it's always a difficult place to come. And it was today the same. You know, I think I enjoy this type of atmosphere as well, so I was really looking forward to it. But I think we could have made it a little bit easier if you don't concede those set pieces, and then you give them the boost and the feeling and the drive that with the fans behind them, of course. And but we managed to get the 3 points and we move on.
You say you enjoy these kind of evenings, these nights at St James's Park, but you yourself, you were involved in that sending off on the receiving end of that foul. What did Anthony Gordon say to you as he was trying to talk to you on the pitch?
Well, I said to him, if this is not sending off, then I don't understand football. So I think it was already strange that the manager has to go to the monitor, in my opinion. But listen, unfortunately, these things happen in football. If you meant it or not, it happened. We move on. That's it.
A word on Rio. I know we spoke about him briefly at the start of this interview, but to finish it off, it was the coolest of finishes, and at such a young age as well, just coming on, Premier League debut, boom.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a dream debut for him. I think that whole attack was quite good. Harvey, I think, started it, or right-hand side, and obviously I think Freddy did the dummy. So it was a perfect attack. We stayed calm towards the end as well, try and find the right solution in order to score a goal, and we did it. So I'm very pleased for Rio. I've mentioned it before to him already. It's all a start now. He has to keep working hard and stay humble, but definitely have to enjoy this, because these nights you can't take for granted, of course, if you're in his position. And I'm sure with the players that we have, he will be back in training and having a hard session tomorrow again, and then we carry on.
I saw Curtis celebrating with him at the end, spraying with him with a bottle of water, because that's all they've got at hand. How long does it take, Virgil, to get that rhythm and to find that rhythm that you became champions last season? Games.
It's the only way. I think there were many good things today. Obviously, what I said, I think the beginning was very intense. All was expected. If you're going to try and be sure that you're the best team on the ball, they will come and attack you from behind and press them, you know, with the fans behind them. So we had to be a little bit more direct. And at a certain point, when the fans started to quiet down a little bit, then you have time to play. And I think we did that well. And like I said, you know, it's a very tough place to come. And with their fans behind them, great fans, and it's always difficult to come in.
Rest well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you.
The most remarkable end to an extraordinary football match. And we will go through it blow by blow, but let's just focus on that winning moment. I think it felt like at 2-2, we'd seen the last of the drama, but no.
Well, if there was going to be any drama, it felt like it would be a Newcastle goal. There were set pieces at the end, and I mean, it feels like this was the only time when we look at the goal when Liverpool had almost a period of possession of pushing Newcastle further back. Arne Slot had made his substitutions. And what Liverpool end up doing is they end up getting players, as you should always do, between the midfield and the opposition's back foot, especially when you've got the extra man. That's what you do. You just keep making passes, simple passes, until you get someone in a really dangerous area. Newcastle obviously probably still wanting to win the game. They got the crowd up and they get really aggressive in this midfield area here. So they get tight there. Now, you could say, have they got too tight? But if they win the ball there, as they had been doing all night here, maybe they go on the counter-attack. Yeah. But that means that they've enticed a couple of players in, Liverpool, so then they've got the space between the lines. And you see the space there for that man, Chiesa, in acres of space. As we just said, the players between the lines, and then they get outnumbered because 2 or 3 of the midfield players jumped. I think it was on Gravenberch. But Mo Salah will get the assist, but the assist is Dominic Szoboszlai, who was absolutely outstanding in this game tonight, playing it right back.
Talk to me, Thierry, about the composure that this young man shows. 16 years old, his Premier League debut, and as soon as Szoboszlai steps over it, he knows this is his moment.
Composure, the ball is coming well on the ground, Szoboszlai knows he's there, but you know, you're like, oh, if I score, this is going to be amazing. Look, it slows down. It bounces a bit, and then guide it. He does guide it, and then you can enjoy it. I mean,
but it seems that there's so much conviction about that
strike. Oh, you have to be, but the ball is inviting, though. And you also coming the right way. Everything was perfect for you to hit the target and score. And then obviously, if he did put it in, we're talking about it, he could have missed it. But you know what? You know what I liked about him, Rio, is as soon as he came on and he had the ball, he went straight away to play his 1v1. There was a 1v1, even 3. He didn't care. He took the ball at desire, will, and he got his reward at the end, being high and wide, and the awareness of the team, bodies between the line. But again, I'm with you. You don't have to touch a ball to have an assist for me. What he did, he moved everybody, not everybody obviously, but the right back away to make sure that he could free Rio Szoboszlai there. It has to be his assist, or at least 2 assists.
It's this historic moment for Liverpool Football Club. Not the fact that they've won a game so late on. They've done that hundreds of times. But this is their youngest scorer in history, Jamie.
Wow. It's difficult to create history at Liverpool because, you know, the club's got such great history. But for a young man, and listen, it's been the weekend of young players coming in. You obviously think of what Arsenal had with Darwin coming on. But there's been something about this lad in pre-season where Liverpool supporters are getting really excited. And Luis Diaz has moved on. He was the competition with Cody Gakpo on the left. And there's a feeling of Liverpool need to replace Luis Diaz. But what do you do when you've got a young player like this? That is definitely going to be in the minds now of the Liverpool hierarchy in terms of what they do in the next week. Because when someone has an impact like that as such a young player, that's just not enough now. I mean, I'm not talking about him playing every week, but he's shown himself in a big moment, high-pressured moment, composure at such a delicate stage of the game. You can't not see him now on the bench and coming on in games, for the next 2 or 3 months. So he's got to be involved.
Does he need to play?
Oh, play? It's a bit early for the playing, but he announced himself. Playing, it's a bit early, but I'm very happy for him being able to finish like he finished. He looked like a player that I've been playing for a very long time. How composed he was. I love the celebration, but like I said, as soon as he came on the field, he had that desire, that will that he wanted to change the game.
Grandstand finish to what has been an extraordinary football match tonight at St James's Park, and here is the winning boss. Arne Slot speaks to us live now. Well, congratulations, first of all, Arne. How would you sum up the 90 plus 10 minutes that we've just experienced?
Now, when I heard you correctly, you were saying a football match. I'm not too sure if I saw a football match today. It was set piece after set piece, long throw. It didn't have a lot to do with tactics, what I said before the game. But I liked a lot how we stood strong. Very difficult first half hour, 45 minutes. But we didn't collapse at all. We stood strong. And as a result of that, we came 1-0 up. They going down to 10 men, you would expect that is a big plus for us. But yeah, when a goalkeeper takes every free kick, then there's not so much help if you are one player up. And that's why it was so difficult for us to bring the 2-0 over the line.
Boss, congratulations. As you said, Jamie and I played a lot of games like that back in the days. Trust us. But Jamie and I spotted something.
Playing style then.
Jamie and I spotted something on the free kicks. A lot of the free kicks, the line that you were having wherever they were trying to throw the ball in, you had it very low. The line was very low. And on the goal, Van Dijk decided to go really high. And what was the thought process of that? You got punished, and it's easy now because you got punished. It's easy for us to bring it up. But you did it the whole game. You played low to attack the ball, and on that one you went high.
True. I don't think it's fair to blame Virgil. It's a combination. He has contact with us at the bench. All the other ones were further up the pitch, so we know what their idea is. They bring the ball to the D. Then Burn is there attacking a ball, trying to make it difficult. There were a lot of difficult situations for us coming off that. So either a second ball or a throw-in or another corner kick. So at that moment of time, we decided that because the ball was so deep, that it was smarter not to get a second ball inside our 18-yard box again. But that was definitely the wrong decision in that moment, looking back at it.
For all that you said about the style of football that you faced tonight, Arne, having taken the lead just right at the start of the second half, were you disappointed with what your team gave you from that point on in the second period? I think your first shot after going 2-0 up was the winning goal.
Yeah, we didn't play well enough with the ball. Every time when we came in the end phase of an attack, our attackers immediately tried to force something, which never led to anything, a few crosses that ended up behind the goal. But like I said, I have to look back at it, but I don't think there was so much open play to be played. And as I said, in a set piece, a long throw and a long ball from the goalkeeper, you don't need an extra. Yeah, it's always nice to have an extra man, but it does not so as beneficial as if they want to bring the ball out from the back and we can press them. So yes, with the ball, the one and only attack that was good in the second, apart from maybe the 2-0, but when after that was the one that led to the goal, which was a great attack. And for the first time, we went from right to the middle to the left, and a great goal for a 16-year-old.
And the impact of the substitution, the young boy Rio, is caused huge excitement, I think, amongst Liverpool supporters, certainly in the pre-season games. And on the fact of Luis Diaz moving on, does it make you almost change maybe your thought process in terms of maybe replacing Luis Diaz in this next week because you've got such a young special talent like Rio?
Yeah, we have, and he's shown that already a few times. And what I like maybe most from our players is that after the 2-2, I think we had to defend 5 set pieces, 3 throw-ins and 2 free kicks. I don't know how many, maybe I exaggerate a bit. And that wasn't a moment for me to bring Rio and Javi in because the both of them are not so tall. But I did feel, because it was 2-2, to bring 2 players in that can do something special in a moment. And then it's always nice that he scores a goal. I do remember, Jamie, before the game.
I knew that was coming back.
I'm delighted to be proved wrong, boss, I can assure you.
Yeah, no, but you were right. Last season I could bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Luis Diaz and Dominic Szoboszlai. But the end result is not the same as last season. We were 3-2 up in the last minute. And they scored the 3-3, and today it was 2-2, and we could score in the last minute. But I think this is also what makes the Premier League special. Maybe it wasn't the best game in terms of tactics, or in terms of playing football, but I think every fan everywhere around the world enjoyed watching this game of football. Also, because their fans were amazing in terms of the help they gave the home team.
Absolutely, Arne. It was a great watch. And when that ball falls to Rio with 100 minutes on the clock, did you expect him to score?
It was a big chance, and he's a player that can finish really well for his age. So how firm his shot was, you don't see this often. And for a 16-year-old, I did hear someone say afterwards in the dressing room, I'm not going to say who it was, but I probably would have taken that ball, have a first touch, and then finish it off. But he's so confident. That's also what I like, because the first ball he got, he wasn't afraid. He immediately took someone on. And when the second player came, he even got a cross in. And for him to score that goal is not completely coincidence, because he's for his age, he's a really good finisher as well.
It was an amazing finish, as was the second goal. You didn't actually see it, did you, Arne?
No. No, I was still inside. So, I heard people cheering, so being happy, and I was like, this can't be a red card for us, because then the whole stadium will be much louder and they can't have scored. So what must have happened? I thought maybe for them. But when I walked out, I heard it was a goal for us, so pleasant surprise.
But now this game is out of the way, Arne, the burning question, do you anticipate there to be conversations between the higher-ups at both clubs about the future of Alexander Isak?
I think the story should be about Hugo Ekitike scoring another goal for us. And it wouldn't be fair for me to talk about anything else. He's been 3 games with us now, scored 3 goals, impacted the games he played, and as the other ones of my attackers. And this is not the place to talk about anything else than that, in my opinion. But I can understand you asking.
Yeah, we will watch this space. Arne, well, it was a joy to watch. I know you didn't feel it was a flowing football contest, but it was certainly entertaining. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Entertaining, that's a better word than a joy to watch, in my opinion. But thank you, Arne, as ever. Well done. You're welcome. You're welcome. Where should we go? Should we get to the start? All right, what do you make of? We'll tell you what. We're going to go to a break in a minute, but let's just sum up what we heard from Arne Slot there. And it was interesting because the very first question was open-ended about the kind of game that he thought it was. His response straight away was on, this wasn't football.
Well, this is why I said what I said, because we played sometimes in games like that, and the Premier League sometimes will give you a game like that. But what I like about what he said, and Jamie was mentioning it at the end, and we were talking about it, so many times they were not patient enough on the ball. Every time they put the ball down and they tried to make 3 to 4 passes to go on the right and on the left, they did open up Newcastle. But they didn't do it very often. I don't know why. Obviously the crowd, they got bullied at times. They were over them, but you know,